here with my sidekick Dabby, and it is now the beginning of December, which means it is time for my November wrap-up. As you probably know, November is National Novel Writing Month, so a lot of people try to write 50,000 words in the span of 30 days. And I participated for the second time this month, so I didn't do a whole lot of reading. So most of what I am going to be talking about are audiobooks because I'm able to listen to those on my drive when I can't read a physical book. I did get through a couple books and I will talk about those as well, but let's dive into it. As normal, I'm going to go over these books when I finished the book this month. I'm also going to go over all the books I got, and YALLFest was this month, so there are a lot of books. And I will talk a little bit about my experience with NoNaWriMo as well. It's going to be a long video. I started out this month audiobooking Our Dark Duet, which is the sequel to The Savage Song by Victoria Schwab. It is the second in a duology. I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. I actually think I liked the second one better than the first because I was kind of iffy about the first one, which is why it took me so long to read, or in this case, listen to the second one. But I really did enjoy it. I actually finished it as I was on my way to pick up my friends for YALLFest. I needed to talk about it, but neither of them had read it yet, so that was a problem. If you don't know, the duology is about, I guess it's a futuristic time. It's kind of fantasy. In this futuristic time, I think it's New York, the world has been infested with monsters, and there are 3 different kinds of monsters, and each monster is created by an act of cruelty. So a human act of cruelty creates these monsters. And some of the monsters, I mean, they all kill humans, but most of them kill innocent humans, but then this one certain kind of monster only kills the humans that have created other monsters. It follows a human and a sunai, those monsters that kill the ones that have created monsters. And it's a little bit of like, who's the monster and who's the one with the soul type of thing going on. And I really liked it. Like I said, I like the second one better than the first, and I definitely recommend the duology if it sounds at all interesting to you. Next was There's Someone Inside Your House. Kate, Flo, and I actually audiobooked this on our way down to South Carolina for YALLFest and finished on the way back up. We loved it. I know Kate and I loved it more than Flo, it seems, but we loved it. It is written by Stephanie Perkins, and it's a combination of romance and thriller. It was adorable and also terrifying. And we had so much fun with this. It is told like an old school thriller movie, and it was a lot of fun. I do have a half arc of this that's in my hand right now, but we did audiobook the entire thing. I have a book talk for this, which I will link below, and I will also have a card for it up there. Definitely check that out. I gave it 5 stars. Next, I have one of the few books that I physically read this month, Into the Bright Unknown by Ray Carson. This is the 3rd book in the Gold Seer trilogy, which I really enjoyed the first 2 books. I enjoyed this one too. I don't think I liked it as much as the first 2, which is a little disappointing. I think the other 2 were about adventure and escape. There wasn't as much going on in it because they were kind of trying to get settled and figure their lives out, which is an important part of the story, but not quite as exciting. There were parts of it I did really enjoy. This one had a little bit of an Ocean's 11 feel in a way where you weren't quite sure what was going on, and even the characters weren't quite sure what was going on half the time. So that was kind of cool, but it wasn't really what I was looking for in this specific trilogy. I don't have a book talk for this one, even though I do have a book talk for the second one, so if you want to check out a book talk from this series, you can check that one, which I will link below. But I don't think I'm going to have one for this one, because I just didn't care for it as much. I did give it 4 stars. It was worth it. I liked the way the story ended. I just wasn't feeling it as much as the previous ones. Next, I listened to the audiobook It's Kind of a Funny Story by Ned Vizzini. This one was an interesting one. It was about a boy who was in a mental institution for 5 days after he decided he wanted to kill himself, but before he actually did so, he called a suicide hotline and they told him to check into a hospital. So he did. And it's his experience in this hospital, interacting with the other patients, and realizing that life is worth living. Now, apparently, the author of this book also spent some time in a mental institution and did end up committing suicide. It's interesting. I definitely found it interesting. I've been reading a lot of books about mental health recently, which I think is a good thing that we're seeing several of them. And I definitely found this one interesting. I wouldn't say it was as enjoyable as a lot of other books I've read, but I think it's worth reading for sure. I gave it 4 stars. That's really all I have to say about that one. Next, I read If There's No Tomorrow by Jennifer L. Armentrout. I have become obsessed with Jennifer L. Armentrout. I'm seeing her in March and I am so excited, and this is the first physical copy of a book of hers that I have ever owned, and it was a pretty good choice. I ended up giving it 5 stars. I love it. It's about a girl who has been in love with her best friend her whole life, but was always scared to tell him. One of her best friends. She has several best friends. But she's been in love with the boy next door, who's also been her best friend since she moved to the town, for pretty much that whole time. And never believed that he would like her too, so never said anything about it, and has just kind of suffered in silence. And one day, her entire world is changed, and she thinks people are going to blame her for what happened. I'm not going to get into what happened, but it's a big deal. And it's kind of about her learning to accept her part in what happened and realize that it doesn't have to completely control her life. There is a bit of mental health in this one, though this one is more of a like PTSD style and guilt than the other one. I really enjoyed it. I loved it so much. I always love Jennifer L. Armentrout books. I always just remember the ending of the books and forget that they tore my heart out along the way until I get to that point in the next one. But I really love this one. I gave it 5 stars. I think it's my second favorite Armentrout book I've read, behind The Problem with Forever. But I love this one. Definitely read it. I love the characters. I love the development. I love the plot. I loved everything about this book. And I do plan to do a book talk for it in the next couple days, but we'll see. I definitely should. So hopefully I will. That is it for books that I finished in November. It was a slower month, but remember I was doing NoNaWriMo. I will get into the books I started, and then I will talk about NoNaWriMo, and then I will talk about the books I got. Oh my goodness. Okay, so I started the audiobook for 1,000 Pieces of You. I have had this copy of this book on my to-be-read pile for I think 2 years, but I haven't actually picked it up yet. It has mixed reviews on Goodreads, and there were so many other books I needed to read that I just hadn't picked it up. But I finally found it in audiobook form from the library, and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to read it through that and not worry about this copy that's been sitting on my shelf forever. So I do have a physical copy of it, but I am listening to the audiobook. If you don't know, it is about a girl named Marguerite who, her father was just murdered, and she and her brother-like person that she also kind of flirts with a lot are going after the person that they believe murdered him. They have to go through dimensions and universes to get to him because her parents invented a device that lets you jump between universes. And that's probably part of why her dad was murdered. I don't know. I'm only like halfway through, if even, so I'll find out when I find out. But yeah, I'm listening to this now. So far, it did have a slow start. I have gotten into it, and I will maybe do a book talk for that. It's several years old now, so I don't know, but we'll see. The last book I started reading in physical form at the very end of November was Foolish Hearts by Emma Mills. I got this at YALLFest in a blind date, although it did come out in November. This is about a girl named Claudia who like witnesses a really popular couple at her school breaking up, and then has to be partners with one of the girls in that couple, and ends up not doing very well on their project together. And for extra credit, both of those girls need to try out for the school play with the brothers' school next door. And there are a lot of people there, including a really interesting boy and some possible new friends. Like I said, I started this at the very end of December. The first chapter, I didn't think I would be super interested in it, but that quickly changed, and I have been really enjoying this. So that is it for November books that I have started reading at all. I do want to talk about NaNoWriMo at all because I won! Yay! This was my second time participating in NaNoWriMo and my second time winning NaNoWriMo. The first time I participated was actually 2013, so it has been 4 years. But I'm super excited. I am not finished writing the book I'm currently writing. I probably have about 20,000 words left. I don't know, I really like this one. I'm hoping something comes of it. I don't want to say more than that because I don't want to jinx anything, and I also don't want to give anything away. I will say what I am currently writing is a young adult contemporary, and it has 2 main characters, and that's all I'm gonna say. Now I'm going to get into the books I got this month, and I got a lot, guys. At YALLFest, I got Love, Life, and the List by Kasie West. If you don't know, I have been obsessed with Kasie West for the past year or so. It sounds like it's about a girl who's also been in love with her best friend and realizes that he's never gonna love her back, but she hasn't fully been living her life. So she creates a list of things that she must do in her senior year. And I'm guessing that he's going to be helping her with the list and maybe fall in love with her along the way. But I love Kasie West. I'm so excited. This book comes out in March 2018, but it's probably going to be one of the first books I read from YALLFest because I love Kasie West. Next, I got TBH, This Is So Awkward. This one actually is about middle schoolers, and it is told completely in text, which reminds me of T2IL, which I read probably when I was in middle school or early high school, so I feel like it'll bring me back a little bit, and that's going to be really fun. This one comes out in January. I got Children of the Blood and Bone by Tommy Adimi, and I know I'm pronouncing that wrong, and I'm sorry. This has been a much anticipated book. It sounds like this is about a girl who is set to bring magic back after it has disappeared, and the Crown Prince is set on having it disappear completely, but she's determined to bring it back, and it looks intense. This one comes out in March. Next, I have Stags by M.A. Bennett. So this one is a psychological survival adventure about a girl who starts at a private school on a scholarship, and she's kind of ignored at first, but then gets invited to a weekend retreat, and it sounds like all hell breaks loose. And it also comes out in January. Next, I got Batman Nightwalker by Marie Lu. This is the second book in the DC Comics series that a bunch of YA authors are writing. I'm so excited to have my hands on this. Yeah, I think it's about like how Bruce Wayne became Batman, and it comes out in January, and I think this is also going to be one of the first books I read in my post-YALLFest insanity. Next, I have Tess of the Road by Rachel Hartman. But yeah, this comes out in February. Next, I have Ash Princess by Laura Sebastian. This comes out in April. This one is about a girl whose mother was killed in front of her, and her kingdom was taken from her, and she has kind of lived as a prisoner for 10 years. One day, she's forced to do the unthinkable. I assume she's forced to like kill somebody. That inspires her to kind of fight back. I'm almost done, guys. Next, I have Tempests and Slaughter by Tamora Pierce, which I'm excited to read. I keep having people tell me to read Tamora Pierce, but I haven't yet. This one has a little bit of a Harry Potter feel. It follows Aram Draper, who is in a mage school with his two best friends, one female, one male. And the three of them teaming together will eventually shape the world, but for now they need to get through their classes. This comes out in February. The last book I got at YALLFest is The Beauty That Remains by Ashley Woodfolk. This one comes out in March. This is about three people who always loved music, but when death affects each of them, they wonder if music is enough and how they're going to continue on. I do have two more books that I got this month that I did not get at YALLFest. My friend Flo sent me a copy of Let's Talk About Love. This is about an asexual girl who is heartbroken after her first relationship ends when she confesses that she's asexual, but then she meets somebody new and that might change. This was recommended to me by my friend Kate while Flo was in the car, and she happened to have a copy back at home, so she sent it to me. And yeah, I'm very excited to read this. And this also comes out in January. I also got Renegades this month by Marissa Meyer, which is her newest book. And I believe it follows a villain who is out against the renegades who are there to save everybody. But I don't know, I'll find out. And finally, When We Collided by Emily Lord. This is one I've heard so much about and such wonderful things about for a while now. It is about two people who collide over the summer, and that's all I really know. But I'm excited to read it. I've heard such amazing things. That was a lot, but that is it for November. If you like this video, don't forget to give me a thumbs up. Definitely follow me, subscribe so you can hear as I get through all of these wonderful books I need to read. Click below to see any of the videos I've mentioned. You can follow me on Twitter at ReaderGonnaRead, just like my YouTube channel. And click up there to subscribe. I will talk to you next time. Goodbye! Shit, there's a lot of books. Hey, Ellie and Dobby here. Like the video? Come subscribe. Do it right now. Click it.